What are we doing here this morning?
Meeting with TSA agents up and down each gate, the concourse, and just talking to them about what this means. And we've got 800,000 people because of a temper tantrum from the president when he said, the commander-in-chief saying he is proud to shut the government down. We have 800,000 people, some of them working without pay, like many of the men and women behind me, some of them laid off. Tens of thousands of additional people are contractors for their people that prepare the food and do the security and do the custodial work for federal buildings. They work for private companies. They're making $8, $10, $12 an hour. They have lost their jobs during this point. They likely won't get any back pay. So the president needs to understand the pain this is inflicting because of his temper tantrum in shutting the government down. We have passed a bill unanimously in the Senate. The president says he won't sign. He needs to sign a strong bipartisan bill coming out of the House and Senate.
Have you heard any concerns from them so far? Are there any security concerns?
Security concerns at, here, yeah. Not the border. I think the TSA agents are doing their jobs. They're professionals, they're public servants. They're not going to do their jobs worse as a result of not getting paid, but there is the anxiety and the stress on families. I mean, the president doesn't understand this, and maybe senators and House members don't either, but if people miss one paycheck or two paychecks, does their landlord or their bank say, it's okay, you don't need to pay for your housing this month? Or does somebody's at Lorraine Community College and paying for their, working here and paying their tuition, are they going to say, well, you don't have to pay this quarter? I mean, this is real hardship on a whole lot of families, and it's all inflicted on them because the commander-in-chief wants to score political points on building a wall that the Mexicans, he promised that the Mexicans would pay for it, not taxpayers, anteing up over time $30 billion for a wall that won't give us the security that technology and more border agents will give us that we want to provide for this country.
Do you think he understood what he was doing when he decided he was going to shut down the government? There are reports that the administration didn't know what the
Well, I think the fact that there are interim chief of staff, interim Defense Department, interim Attorney General, I don't think the president's getting particularly good advice, but I think mostly he doesn't understand the pain that this is inflicting ultimately on the flying public, on the 800,000 federal workers, on the tens of thousands of contract workers, on the diner near NASA that might be, whose business is less during this period. I mean, all these small companies around federal installations are getting hurt. Retail operations, stores, hardware stores, all that. All of the pain that's just unnecessary inflicted on far too many people.
Senator Brown, you talked about the pain that this could potentially bring to workers and also Americans. What was your reaction yesterday when you heard President Trump saying that hardworking Americans, like TSA workers, for example, will make adjustments if they miss a paycheck, miss two paychecks? What was your reaction?
Well, for a billionaire New York developer who inherited, what do they say, $50 million from his dad, to say that these workers living on $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year can afford to give up a couple paychecks and they'll figure out the way through it, shows insensitivity and tone deafness and ignorance that I would hope the commander-in-chief didn't have.
What do you hope to learn here today by talking to these
Well, I just want to find out how they're making do. I know some TSA people have called in sick so they can go to their second job. It may pay less. Maybe retail, maybe something else, maybe part-time construction, whatever. They're another job because they need the money to feed their families. So I want to hear these stories, and I could give you better answers after that. But I fly through here every week, and I talk because I'm home every Thursday to Monday pretty much. But I talk to these agents as I go through. But I'll get today more time to actually hear their stories, what this means to them right now.
The president's supposed to go on TV tonight, and there were calls from the Democratic leaders for the networks to not broadcast it because they thought it was going to be a political speech. Do you think the network should broadcast?
Well, I think this is a total political speech, and the president's trying to rally the country around something that the country clearly doesn't want. I mean, I talk to Republican senators, every week about this, and most of them think this whole idea of a border wall instead of doing the other security at the border doesn't make sense. That's what they say privately to me, and I think the president, again, the president promised that Mexico would pay. I understand it's a campaign promise. I mean, he's broken his campaign promise not to cut Medicaid too. So, but he promised the Mexicans would build this, and this is $30 billion he's asking taxpayers for over the next 3 or 4 years, and it simply does. It's not the way to protect and secure the border.
They've talked about state of emergency or whatever the technical status is or whatever, where they could basically shift funds from the Department of Defense to go into building the wall, but I don't know what.
Yeah, no. Well, no president has